Now Little King posts this paperwork, right? And here's the thing I don't like about this paperwork. This is an actual case. For those of us that know, we know this is an actual case. Now let me read this paperwork.
King Harris just shook the whole internet after dropping paperwork that supposedly shows 50 Cent cooperated with the feds. And social media is in complete meltdown mode right now. Timelines are exploding, comment sections are wild, and hip-hop fans are choosing sides like it's a title fight. This is the same 50 Cent who built his entire image on calling out snitches. The same man who turned Tekashi 6ix9ine into a non-stop joke after his cooperation case. Now King Harris pulls out court documents with 50's name attached. And once the pressure started building, 50's finally spoke. No exaggeration, this could be one of the most shocking hip-hop moments of 2024. The artist behind many men, the survivor who took 9 shots and lived, the same rapper who publicly clowned Ja Rule and Rick Ross over street credibility, is now facing claims that he told on somebody back in the day. After King Harris posted the documents, 50 responded, and what he said caught people off guard. Let's break down how this even happened, because this situation turned messy fast. 50 Cent isn't just another rapper. He's hip-hop royalty. Over 30 million records sold. Survived a near-fatal shooting. Built himself into a business powerhouse worth hundreds of millions. His whole brand is built on being untouchable, on standing firm, on never folding under pressure. That's the reputation. That's the identity. But King Harris, son of T.Y., just challenged all of that in one move. This isn't some random Instagram argument. This is about reputation, about street code, about legacy. When someone questions your image after you've spent 2 decades exposing other rappers for being fake, it hits different. For 50, who made a career out of calling people out, this situation feels heavy. If these allegations hold weight, it changes how fans view him. It shifts conversations about credibility. It forces people to rethink narratives they believed were solid. That's why this story spreads so quickly. It touches the core of who 50 presents himself to be. To really understand how it escalated, we have to rewind to early 2024. 50 Cent and T.I. were seen as cool with each other. 2 legends from different generations who respected each other's grind. No obvious tension, no public shots thrown. Then came King Harris, T.I.'s 19-year-old son, trying to build his own name in the industry. He was active online, showing his lifestyle, promoting his music, moving like a young guy with something to prove. Regular young energy, just amplified because of who his father is. That's when 50 started paying attention. If you follow 50, you know he's known for trolling people on Instagram. He rarely ignores anything. He sees something, he comments. Sometimes it's playful, sometimes it's sharp. But once he focused on King, things slowly shifted. What started as light social media jokes began turning into something way bigger than anyone expected. And that's where this whole situation really started heating up. At this point, trolling is basically 50's second career. 50 Cent has gone after everybody, from Diddy to his own son Marquise Jackson. He doesn't pick and choose when it comes to internet beef. If there's content to joke about, he's on it. So when King Harris started posting videos and flexing online, 50 did what he always does. He reposted it with clown emojis and sarcastic captions. Light jabs at first. King would post something flashy, and 50 would throw it to his 30 million followers with captions like, "This is T.I.'s son," or "The youth is lost." Standard trolling, nothing new for him. At first it looked harmless, just 50 doing what 50 does best, stirring the pot and getting laughs. But here's where it shifted. King Harris didn't back down like most people usually do when 50 targets them. He fired back. The young guy told 50 he was too old to be focused on teenagers and called him out for acting like a bully. That probably should have been the moment to let it die. But it didn't stop there. Instead of cooling off, 50 leveled up the shots. He started questioning T.I. as a father. He implied that Tip couldn't control his son. He hinted that King wasn't built for the lifestyle he was portraying. The jokes weren't just about social media flexing anymore. They were about character. For a while, T.I. stayed quiet. Maybe he thought it would blow over. Maybe he figured it was just internet noise. But 50 kept pressing the issue, and then he stepped into territory that hip-hop doesn't take lightly. He brought Tamika Tiny Harris into it. Tiny, T.I.'s wife and King's mother, had nothing to do with the back and forth. But 50 started posting about her appearance, putting old photos next to recent ones, making comments about plastic surgery and resurfacing old rumors. He even referenced past legal accusations involving T.I. and Tiny, accusations they denied and were never charged over. That move changed the tone completely. Now it wasn't playful trolling. It felt personal. King Harris saw those posts and snapped. He jumped on Instagram Live looking heated, saying 50 crossed the line. You could see the anger. This wasn't about jokes anymore. In his eyes, it became about family and respect. And once family gets pulled into it, situations like this rarely stay small. King jumped on Live heated and said, "You can say whatever you want about me, but you're gonna disrespect my mama? Nah, that's different. You just opened a door you can't close, old man." The tone shifted right there. This wasn't playful anymore. It felt personal. The live stream pulled in over 200,000 viewers in real time. The comments were moving fast. Some people told King to relax, warning him that 50 Cent would bury him online. Others said he had every right to defend his mother, but behind the scenes, something bigger was happening. King wasn't just venting, he was digging. While 50 kept posting memes and sarcastic captions, acting unbothered, King was looking into things, and what he found, according to him, had the power to flip the whole narrative. The energy online started getting tense. Every post felt like it meant more. Meanwhile, 50 stayed in character. More jokes, more reposts. He treated King like an annoying kid who didn't deserve real attention. He shared King's clips with captions like, "T.I., come get your son before I really hurt his feelings." And this boy think he tough. It was classic trolling, calculated and public. King didn't slow down though. He fired back with more videos, calling 50 a bully. He said the rapper was insecure and picked on younger people to stay relevant. You 48 years old worried about a teenager. That's crazy. You're supposed to be a mogul, but you on Instagram all day like a high school girl. Those words started trending. The clips got thousands of likes. People noticed that King wasn't folding under pressure. Eventually, T.I. addressed it in an interview. He kept it respectful. He said he still had respect for 50, but wished he would leave his son out of it. King is young. He's learning, he's growing. I don't know why 50 feels the need to keep going at him. That's not the 50 I know. It sounded measured, almost disappointed, but 50 didn't soften up. He reposted T.I.'s interview clip with laughing emojis, doubling down instead of backing off. At that point, it was clear this wasn't cooling down anytime soon. And with King sitting on whatever he had been researching, the next move was about to shift everything. Then on March 15, 2024, King Harris dropped something that made the whole internet freeze. No jokes, no memes, just screenshots of court documents posted straight to his Instagram stories. The caption read, "Since you want to talk about who's real and who's fake, let's talk about what you did in 2005. You're the biggest snitch in hip-hop, and everybody's scared to say it." That line alone sent shockwaves. The paperwork he posted looked like federal case files, and right there in black and white was 50 Cent's government name, Curtis Jackson. People started screenshotting instantly. Twitter lit up. Instagram blogs reposted it. TikTok creators were breaking it down within minutes. In less than an hour, both 50 Cent and King Harris were trending worldwide. This wasn't just internet trolling anymore. This was a direct hit at 50's reputation. And for someone whose whole brand is built on exposing snitches, that kind of accusation hits different. To understand why this was so explosive, you have to know the backstory. The documents King posted were connected to a 2005 federal case involving Kenneth McGriff, also known in the streets as Supreme. If you know 50's history, you know that name carries weight. McGriff was a major figure in Queens, New York. He led the Supreme Team, a powerful substance organization that operated heavily during the 1980s. By the early 2000s, he was trying to shift into the music business, but tension between him and 50 was already there. Street rumors for years suggested McGriff was connected to the 2000 shooting where 50 was hit 9 times. 50 survived, but that moment became a permanent part of his story. It shaped his image, it shaped his music, and he never acted like he forgot. In 2003, 50 dropped Get Rich or Die Trying and became a global star. Around that same time, he had recorded a track called Ghetto Quran, In that song, he spoke about Queen's street figures and substance operations, mentioning names and describing situations in detail. That track stirred serious tension. McGriff was reportedly furious about it. Federal prosecutors later alleged that McGriff was involved in violent acts tied to those conflicts. There were claims that he ordered retaliation connected to 50 and people around him. These were allegations presented in court proceedings, not street gossip. In 2002, Eric Smith, known as E. Moneybags, was unalived. His passing became part of the larger narrative surrounding the Queens conflicts of that era. Over time, court cases connected different individuals to various crimes, and 50's name appeared in legal documents as part of testimony and evidence discussions. That's the paperwork King Harris resurfaced. The issue wasn't just that documents existed, it was how they were framed. King presented them as proof that 50 cooperated with authorities. Whether that interpretation is accurate or not became the center of debate. But once the label snitch gets attached to someone in hip-hop, especially someone like 50, the damage can spread fast. And now the internet was watching closely to see how 50 would respond. Eric Smith, known as E. Moneybags, had ties to Jam Master Jay of Run DMC. Then in 2002, Jam Master Jay himself was shot inside his Queens studio. Years later, federal prosecutors built cases that connected Kenneth McGriff to multiple violent crimes, including allegations tied to those homicides. Investigators believed the long-running tension involving 50 Cent was part of the wider conflict. This is where the paperwork King Harris posted becomes explosive. According to the documents shared online, when federal prosecutors were building their case against McGriff in 2005, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent's legal name, was listed as a cooperating witness. That phrase alone caused chaos across social media. Now here's the part people started debating heavily. There are different levels of cooperation in federal cases. Sometimes someone is subpoenaed and legally required to testify. That means you show up because you have no choice. Other times, a person voluntarily sits down with investigators and provides information without being forced to appear in court first. In street culture, those two scenarios are viewed very differently. The documents King posted suggested that 50 had multiple meetings with federal agents while the case was being built. According to the filings, Jackson provided information about threats allegedly made against him by McGriff and individuals connected to him. One section of the paperwork stated that Jackson gave detailed accounts of conversations and incidents that investigators said supported other evidence they were gathering. Reports in the documents indicated that 50 met with federal agents on at least 3 separate occasions between 2003 and 2005. One filing claimed he shared details about McGriff's alleged activities within the music world and described situations involving intimidation and threats. These statements were documented as part of the broader investigation. What made the situation more controversial was the suggestion that some of these meetings happened before any formal subpoena required him to testify. In other words, the paperwork implied he wasn't only responding to a court order. He was allegedly sitting down with agents during the investigation phase. One specific document that spread quickly online was described as an FBI 302 form, which is used to summarize witness interviews. The form, dated August 2005, outlined a meeting where Curtis Jackson reportedly discussed McGriff's alleged involvement in criminal matters and music industry disputes. Once that form started circulating, the narrative shifted fast. Online commentators framed it as voluntary cooperation. Supporters argued he was protecting himself after surviving serious threats. Critics labeled it differently. And just like that, the word cooperating became the center of one of the most heated debates in hip-hop. The FBI 302 form reportedly stated that Jackson was cooperative and forthcoming, and that he provided what agents described as valuable intelligence about the subject's operations and associations. That wording is what really set social media off. It didn't sound passive, it sounded active. Another document that circulated online claimed that information provided by 50 Cent was referenced as part of the broader effort to secure wiretaps on Kenneth McGriff. In federal investigations, wiretaps require judicial approval, and judges only sign off when prosecutors present probable cause. Witness statements can play a role in establishing that threshold. That's why people online started arguing that 50's involvement, as described in the filings, may have carried weight in the investigation. King Harris didn't just post screenshots and disappear. He jumped on Instagram Live and broke everything down in real time. Y'all see this? This is the same man who made a whole career off calling people snitches. He destroyed 6ix9ine for cooperating. He clowned people. He questioned everybody's street cred. But look at this paperwork. Curtis Jackson met with the feds multiple times, voluntarily gave them information, helped them build a case. That's the definition of cooperating. The live stream numbers climbed fast. Over 500,000 viewers tuned in while the comments section turned into a battle zone. Some people defended 50, saying he had every right to protect himself after surviving life-threatening violence. Others took a hard stance, arguing that any voluntary communication with federal agents crosses a line. The debate wasn't subtle. It was loud and split right down the middle. That last part fueled even more arguments. The distinction between being compelled by subpoena and voluntarily sitting down with investigators became the core of the conversation. Online analysts, bloggers, and legal commentators started pulling up timelines, comparing dates, and debating what the documents actually proved. Then another layer surfaced. During the 2008 trial of McGriff, reports indicated that 50 was reluctant to testify in open court. According to court coverage at the time, he expressed concerns about his safety and about being labeled in a way that could affect his image. A judge reportedly warned that refusing to comply could lead to contempt consequences. That detail complicated the narrative. On one hand, the paperwork showed documented cooperation during the investigation. On the other, there were indications he hesitated when it came to public testimony. Now, the internet wasn't just arguing about documents. It was arguing about motive, survival, image, and street code. And with King Harris continuing to spotlight every page, the pressure on 50 was building heavier by the hour. Eventually, the 50's legal team reached an arrangement with prosecutors. Instead of putting him on the witness stand in open court, his prior statements to federal agents were allowed to be entered into evidence. That meant the jury still heard what he told investigators, but he didn't have to physically testify in front of everyone. King Harris highlighted that detail immediately. See, he gave the feds everything they needed, then tried to avoid testifying in public because he knew how it would look. He wanted to help them, but not stand on it in court. That's worse. At least own it. That argument spread fast online. The narrative being pushed was that 50 Cent cooperated behind the scenes, but tried to avoid the spotlight when it came time for trial. Supporters pushed back, saying legal strategy and personal safety are real concerns. Critics said the paperwork spoke for itself. According to the FBI 302 summaries shared across social media, Curtis Jackson reportedly told agents about meetings where Kenneth McGriff allegedly discussed substance operations. The forms described him providing names of associates and explaining their alleged roles. He also detailed threats that he claimed were made against him and gave context about his track Ghetto Quran and why it allegedly escalated tensions. Prosecutors used that information as part of a broader case narrative. In federal trials, building motive and demonstrating patterns of activity is critical. The filings suggested Jackson's statements were used to support claims about McGriff's alleged criminal enterprise and ongoing operations. One document that drew heavy attention online referenced financial details. It stated that Jackson provided information about McGriff's alleged involvement in music-related investments that prosecutors believed were connected to laundering illegal funds. Financial intelligence like that is often central in complex conspiracy or racketeering cases. When that page started circulating, commentators began pointing out how specific the information appeared. Court records show that McGriff was ultimately convicted in 2007 on homicide for hire charges and sentenced to life in prison. The conviction was based on multiple witnesses and a range of evidence presented during the trial. Jackson's prior cooperation was referenced in filings as part of the government's case, though it was not the only factor involved. During sentencing, the judge noted that testimony describing threats and alleged ongoing criminal behavior demonstrated serious public safety concerns. That language was also reposted and debated heavily once King resurfaced the documents. For roughly 48 hours after King Harris made everything public, 50 didn't post a single response. For someone known to be active online almost daily, that silence stood out. Blogs noticed it. Fans noticed it. Critics definitely noticed it. The internet waited to see whether he would deny the documents, explain the context, or flip the narrative entirely. And when you're someone whose image has always centered around exposing others, staying quiet can speak just as loudly as any post. For almost 2 days, the silence from 50 Cent had people talking even louder. Some said his lawyers probably told him to chill. Others thought he was planning the perfect comeback. Either way, the quiet made it look like he didn't have an answer. And for someone who usually posts every few hours, that felt unusual. Then on March 17th, he broke the silence. 50 jumped on Instagram with a direct response video. He didn't dodge it. He didn't joke. He addressed it head on. Y'all really think I'm worried about some paperwork from 20 years ago? Let me explain something to you. When somebody tries to end you, and I mean really tries to end you, shoots you 9 times and leaves you there, you have every right to protect yourself. The feds came to me. I didn't go to them. They already had a case. They asked me about threats against my life. That's not snitching. That's survival. He didn't stop there. Kenneth McGriff tried to have me multiple times. People around me lost their lives. You think I'm supposed to just stay quiet and let that keep happening? I did what I had to do to protect myself and my family. And for the record, I never testified in court. I never sat on a witness stand pointing at anybody. The feds used information about threats against me. That's different. His tone was firm. He framed everything as self-defense, not betrayal. Then he shifted his focus to King Harris. And this kid, T.I.'s son, talking about paperwork he found online. He wasn't even alive when this happened. You don't know what I went through. You live off your daddy's name, posting on Instagram like you tough. I survived real situations. I survived getting shot 9 times. I built an empire. What have you done? You're 19 years old with no accomplishments speaking to me. That clip spread fast. Within hours, it had millions of views. Reaction channels, blogs, and fan pages reposted every second of it. The internet split into 2 clear sides. One group argued that 50 made a solid point. They said protecting yourself after surviving an attempted homicide isn't the same as cooperating against your own crew. They framed it as self-preservation. In their view, giving information about threats to your life doesn't automatically equal betrayal. The other side wasn't convinced. Critics pointed out that 50 had spent years publicly mocking artists who cooperated with law enforcement, especially high-profile cases like Tekashi 6ix9ine. They argued that he couldn't draw a new line now that his own name was in federal documents. To them, the issue wasn't just about survival, it was about consistency. Now, the debate wasn't just about paperwork. It was about hypocrisy, street rules, and whether survival changes the code. And with both sides dug in, this controversy was nowhere near cooling off. King's main point was simple. He argued that you don't get to redefine what cooperation means just because you're the one being accused. Either talking to the feds is wrong or it's not. You don't get to decide it's okay when it benefits you, he said during the stream. Supporters of 50 Cent argued that the situation involving Kenneth McGriff was different because it centered around serious threats and violence. They said survival changes the conversation. Critics pushed back, saying street code doesn't come with fine print. In their view, once you voluntarily speak to federal agents, the label sticks. The conversation moved beyond fans. Bloggers, radio personalities, and hip-hop commentators all started weighing in. Some tried to separate legal reality from street perception. Others said 50's past comments about other artists were now coming back around. He addressed 50 publicly, but kept his wording controlled. He made it clear that while he still viewed 50 as someone he once respected, bringing family into it crossed a boundary. He suggested they handle it privately instead of turning it into a public spectacle. The tone was firm but measured. As of now, the situation is still unfolding. The court documents King Harris referenced do exist in public records related to the federal case against McGriff. Journalists and online researchers have confirmed that Curtis Jackson's name appears in filings connected to the investigation. What remains debated is how those documents should be interpreted. For some, the paperwork confirms cooperation. For others, it reflects a man responding to threats against his life. Either way, This controversy has forced one of hip-hop's most outspoken figures into a position he never imagined being in, having to explain his own paperwork. When it comes to the Kenneth McGriff case, whether you label it snitching really depends on how you see street code and how strictly you apply it. Some people look at the documents and say, cooperation is cooperation. Others look at the context and say surviving repeated threats changes everything. What can't be ignored is the hypocrisy angle. 50 Cent built a large part of his post-music persona on calling out others for working with law enforcement. He turned Tekashi 6ix9ine into a worldwide punchline after his cooperation case. He questioned the credibility of rappers for years, hinting that talking to authorities automatically disqualified you from claiming authenticity. Now that paperwork with his own name attached is circulating. His defense is that his situation was different. That's a complicated stance when you've never allowed nuance for anyone else. The hip-hop community is clearly divided. Older fans who remember the early 2000s conflicts and the serious threats surrounding 50's life tend to be more understanding. They argue he wasn't flipping on friends. They see him as someone responding to attempts on his life, not someone volunteering information for personal gain. From that view, survival isn't betrayal. On the other side, younger fans and strict street code purists don't see it that way. Their argument is simple. If you speak to federal agents voluntarily, that's cooperation. No exceptions, no technicalities. To them, rules are rules, and consistency matters more than circumstance. Meanwhile, King Harris has gained attention for how he handled it. Whether people agree with him or not, he didn't just throw out accusations. He posted documents. He cited case numbers. He pointed people toward public records. In a space where online beef often relies on rumors, that approach earned him a level of credibility. Many expected 50 to overwhelm him with jokes and memes, but King came prepared. That's put T.I. in a tough spot. He's balancing loyalty to his son with a long-standing industry relationship. He's tried to cool things down publicly while also making it clear that threats toward his family cross a line. It's a delicate situation, especially with social media amplifying every word. As for 50, his image has definitely taken a hit in some circles. But history shows he's not easy to shake. He's survived gun violence, public feuds, financial setbacks, and years of controversy. The question now isn't whether he can respond. It's whether this moment changes how people see him long-term. 50's core fan base will probably stay loyal. He's built that connection over decades. But in hip-hop, the snitch label is heavy. Once that word starts circulating, it sticks in conversations whether it's fair or not. And this situation has clearly chipped away at the moral high ground 50 Cent used to stand on whenever he called someone else out. The bigger conversation goes beyond just him. For years, cooperating with law enforcement has been seen as the ultimate violation of street code. That mindset shaped lyrics, interviews, and entire careers. But hip-hop today isn't the same underground culture it was in the 90s. It's corporate, it's global, it's tied into major business deals and public companies. The lines that once seemed clear aren't so clear anymore. A lot of successful rappers have had some kind of interaction with law enforcement, whether as witnesses, victims, or defendants. The reality is complicated, and the debate King Harris sparked is forcing people to confront that gray area. Are the rules absolute, or do circumstances matter? Is survival different from betrayal? Those are questions the culture doesn't fully agree on. What can't be denied is that this is one of the wildest rap beefs of 2024. It's layered, personal, and tied to real court documents, and it's not finished. 50 isn't known for backing down quietly. King Harris has shown he's not intimidated either. The paperwork is public record. Anyone can look it up and form their own opinion. Whether it changes how people view 50 long-term is still unclear. He survived intense pressure before, but this time, he wasn't the one exposing someone else. He was the one explaining himself. And let's be honest, King Harris did something most people thought couldn't be done. He got 50 to respond seriously. He put him on defense. Even Ja Rule couldn't pull that off at the height of their feud. Now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this was survival or hypocrisy? Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who needs to see it, and I'll catch you on the next one.